Policy pronouncements in the budget includes the employment of 11,200 health workers, as well as the recruitment of 30,000 teachers across the country. This has been budgeted for, in the 2022 national budget, but we've seen inconsistency in terms of statements coming through from different ministries regarding when this particular exercise, will begin. Let's begin off with the recruitment of health personnel. When is it starting?
So again, I wouldn't want to speak for the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Education, but what I can emphasize with my hand on my heart and with a very clear conscience is that the President was always very clear from the start that we needed to prop up our ability to create employment for our young men and women, many of whom have been educated at a great expense by their families. So the President understands their frustrations. He shares the frustrations of their families, and this is an issue that we are looking to get on with as quickly as possible. But we also have to understand...
Where has government been tight-lipped?
It's not a question of being tight-lipped. We also have to understand that these are not things that can or was ever going to be delivered in a vacuum. There are administrative processes that must be in place and must probably be anchored down before even the first health personnel or teacher is onboarded. And those processes are being worked through.
Does government understand the frustration of unemployed doctors who protest?
And not just that, and not just the unemployed doctors.
And what makes your statements different from what the PF government were telling us? It's the same thing. They were telling us the administrative processes, and the doctors had to march to State House.
Over the 10 years of the previous regime, I can ask you, colleagues, was there ever a promise of any number of jobs on the table which any one of us could hold on to and say these jobs are going to be delivered, supported by a national budget? Zero. There were pronouncements that people made, X number of jobs are going to be created, X number of people are going to be employed, but that was never supported by anything. For the first time, this President and the administration were being honest,
we're being forthright, supported by the budget, but
we're being transparent, and we're saying in this year's budget, and by this year's budget, we aim to onboard 41,000 public service workers, a combination of health and teaching personnel. But again, part of that process means that we anchor down all the administrative mechanisms that will allow both the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education to properly be able to transition and onboard these of our young brothers and sisters who have been educated and now they're eager to just go out and get on with the job of serving this country and its people. What we don't want to see, and what the President never wants to see, need a situation here to the monarchy. Abantu babe batingire n'enchito kabye nimule bomberapo. Then for years on end, they're not receiving their salaries. We don't want that. What the President envisions, what he has tasked all line ministries is that when we say bache, so twami bishenchito, imoba Dr. Kabombere nimshangum. Diali nefe mwayingira. Pathet shikamba no kwingira endala.
But how does the President feel that the doctors have to march to State House and probably not even given an audience? How does the President know that the doctors marched all the way to State House?
Listen, the President understands the frustrations.
Of course he does, but how does he feel about...
Listen, he understands the frustrations of these young men and women. They are eager to serve. They have been trained at a great expense of both the state and their families. And we need to be quick about the process of onboarding them. And we're urging our colleagues across all line ministries to just get on with what they need to do and make sure that we bring to a conclusion this process of onboarding these young professionals. The country needs them. The doctor-to-patient ratio at the moment is not favorable, and I think it is in the best interest of all of us, not just the President, but much more the citizens, that we get the doctors on board.
The doctors are scheduled to have another peaceful protest just early, the month of March. All right. They've been wanting to have an audience with the President, all right? And I think the route that they've been using is to go to the police to notify the police so that they could have a peaceful march. Do really the doctors need to get a permit for them to speak to their president? Can't you make an appointment for the doctors to have a sit down with the president and they explain what they
look?
they really
I've been in touch with Dr. Sampa over the issue of doctors, and we had a cordial engagement. I expressed my empathies to him and his entire team, that of course this is something that we are getting on with, but we also emphasize that it's important that we allow government the time and space that they need to make sure that we go about this process in a manner that is right, that is
they intend to protest the first week of March.
That is transparent. Look,
but what would you say to them?
This is the kind of society that we're building now, where everyone is free to express themselves. You are free to praise the government when the government does good. You are also free to keep us on our toes. We're not going to hold that against you. And I assured the young medical professionals through Dr. Sampa that this government is not going to hold anything against you because you decided to express yourself in the manner that you did. But also understand that this is a standing commitment from the president. This is a standing commitment from the administration that we aim to employ as much as 11,000 public health professionals. In addition to that, another several thousands of teachers, altogether 41,000. This is a standing commitment, fully budgeted for in this budget cycle, and it will come to pass. We understand the urgency and the impatience on the part of our young professionals, but we can also look them in the eye and say that this is a process that will very, very quickly be concluded, and we'll have them on their workstations, because that is exactly where they belong.